You mind recapping it for me? Just because I generally would be kind of curious because we were talking about the recommendation, or at least I was, for Horizon XI.
There's new merch in the store, which is like, I think that's a good sign for a project that they're still willing to monetize it, because that says they believe there's commercial interest, right? Because if they really thought it was a dead project, they would be like, nobody wants this.
The other theory is that 11 stays up as long as it stays in the black, as opposed to like if it dips into the red, like Square Enix is just gonna like say, all right, thank you.
So, and like, I don't know, the idea that the letter had a lot of truth to it for me, like as somebody that's not emotionally invested in the games, like I don't have any heartbreak there. The idea that there are devs that have been trapped on old dev tools on a project that can run for years and years, like that can be a career ender. Like you go to apply for the next thing and they're like, hey, do you know how to use any of the 5 tools we use? I've never even heard of those.
Right.
Great. We'll call you.
Yeah.
What are
you good at? Well, I'm really, really good at PS2 dev kits. Oh, we're not working on the PS2. Did you say PS5? PS5 dev kits?
Yeah.
No. The two. Well, and Square Enix shut down your position? Like, that was a weird hill to die on as a developer. Like, all right, we tip of the hat game. Like, that's where, like, me as a developer, I totally empathize with the situation they're in. The dream, though, is like, I wish they would just literally like put it into the Final Fantasy 14 engine so that everybody could kind of benefit from building out those
that letter. Their existing team wouldn't be able to do that. They would have to rotate people in from team, in another team anyway. So like it sounded like
they have to start over. Like they can't. Well, there's also a hard limitation on the dev kit. So like they're not making any more of these. So they literally would have to start over and look at putting that game built in a different engine. So it could end up being just like a victim of the time and the circumstances, you know, that it was all built in. Which is a bummer. Like it's a bummer because one of the things that I've talked to some diehard Final Fantasy 11 players, and the thing I've told them is like you would have to make some concessions if they were ever to remake Final Fantasy 11. They could not make Final Fantasy 11 for today's market the same exact way that it launched back in 2003, 2002. They'd have to literally just say, okay, we can have a sandbox, we can have a hardcore style things, but you're going to have to give up some quality of life because the biggest boss outside of Horizon XI is getting into the game, is getting registered, is navigating all of it. Because if you were to try it, Chris, it would be so foreign to you. You think Final Fantasy XIV's process is convoluted? Final Fantasy XIV's process is it is the Cadillac experience of Square Enix's online registrations. So just like at its core, the end game, the biggest, hardest boss is actually
Battle.net's so easy. Yeah. Like when downloading the Diablo beta, I was trying to be careful because I wasn't sure if I wanted to buy the game yet, and I was like, I don't want to accidentally buy it. Like they will just take your money. They have no hesitation. They're like, no, we'll take your money. We will install it at your convenience. As a matter of fact, at our convenience, we'll put it on your machine when it's ready and update it. So when the game comes out, you'll just already have it. Like, and I was like, I was trying to be careful in the launcher because it was late at night and I was installing it and I was like, I don't want to accidentally spend $90. And Battle.net makes that possible.
Yeah.
Square Enix, you're like on support, yelling at them, take my $90. And they're like, sir, I'm going to need you to calm down. We're not actually looking for money right now. And I'm going to hang up if you offer it again. And so it's just Nintendo and Square Enix are the two companies that I just find it so hard. And the hardest thing about marketing is like, how do you get somebody to want to give you money?
Right.
And then you get somebody over all of that, which is what like 90% of businesses are out there. Like if somebody could just teach us how to get to the willing and able customers, that would be immensely valuable. And Square Enix is like, no, we know where those are. We don't actually know how to take the money once they're offering it. What? You just take it. You just take it.
Just take the money.
Just take the money.
Shut up and take the money. Now, Daniel in chat says, I think rather than do anything with Final Fantasy 11, they should work on a new MMO with a 4 to 5 year development time frame. I'd be thrilled if Final Fantasy 17 or 18 was an MMO. What do you think, Chris?
What does a new MMO from Final Fantasy offer alongside Final Fantasy XIV. If we take Yoshi P's Q&A questions and everything this weekend and up until now very seriously, and we say that Final Fantasy XIV is going to be around at least another 10 years, what does another MMO offer that is not possible to get just within Final Fantasy XIV or some modification thereof it? That's enough different to justify another game, not just a little bit different, like, oh, I'd prefer this better glamour system or something like that. But like, what is a totally different play experience?
So for me, I think that's where you're talking about a completely different combat experience, which would be action. And I know a lot of people don't want action, and I'm not saying that they're wrong for not wanting, like, not getting on the action train. Sure. But in terms of, again, thinking outside of the me's, my generation, or like, I guess our generation, millennials, but shifting into what are, you know, the kids playing, what are they interested in, how do we get them into this? Because I think the best solution, because a lot of people talk about, you know, the MMO genre and this dying status. If you go into the MMO subreddit, like, that's the conversation of the day, like, oh, but a lot of it is because, you know, like, are we bringing in new players? Like, are we growing the vast majority of what it means to be within this space? And I think that's essentially what you want to look and target. And when, again, you start thinking of what is a 10-year game, and it's a lot. I don't think you do this with a 4 to 5 year development time frame. I think you start to sit here and say, all right, pre-planning on this is, you know, 3 years, and then we need to make sure we've got the time, money, resources, and we're using the technology so that by the time this game launches, you're looking at, you know, something that can really take you and dominate the 2030s, right? Talking about a decade plus of domination. Let Final Fantasy XIV fund that, and then build to that so that you can sit here and have that. Because at some point, you're looking at a 20-year-old MMO. And the question is that do you continue to reinvest in that technology? And if they can continue to Frankenstein it and ship a Theseus it and really fundamentally replace the whole game and make it attractive to players of, you know, of all ages, then I think that's your plan. But that ends up being, I think, kind of a risk, because you could wind yourself into a situation where you get leapfrogged again, right? Where all of a sudden 2030 comes out and it's like, why are they, like, who's playing World of Warcraft? Who's playing these games? This new game on this technology came out mid 2020s, and that ends up becoming like the, you know, the one of the big defining factors. I don't know, but I think you have to have something different. Like, if it's just the same, if it's just another skin, you know, this is just a 14 clone, a lot of people would feel frustrated. Same thing what happened with Destiny first kicked over. It's like, hey, it's Destiny 2. This is going to be great. And then it's like, wait a minute. Like, we have nothing. Like, it's like, it was so bare bones that it was just like, you ended up having to sit around and wait for them to actually then start to release content years later, you know?
Well, that's my answer to that. Is it's just another question, because, like, that's the hard part, is you've got to have something that's commercially viable, that doesn't damage your existing property. And for the people that play 14 and are like, I don't want an action MMO. Good. Like, the goal is to catch a different group of people. So yeah. Like, if you find that, like, the 14 fans are super excited about it and nobody else is, that's probably a sign that it's too close to 14. So you're looking for something that's drastically different. Needs to be drastically different. And now, like, if Final Fantasy as a franchise is not historically PvP based, so I think different combat system is a good start to the sort of thing you would be looking at for a different way of storytelling.